So I spoke to a new graduate nurse recently, and she was telling me about her interview process, how she actually researched the hospital, she researched her question, she felt super prepared, and she walked in pretty confident, but she didn't get the position and she couldn't figure out why. So we actually debriefed about everything that happened, and turns out it wasn't her answers that cost her the job. It was everything else that the interviewers were paying attention to that she wasn't aware that actually cost her that dream role. Thankfully, shortly after, she decided to work with me, join my coaching program, and we fixed it all. Within a matter of weeks, she was able to land her dream role. So you're probably wondering, what the heck did she do? And what did she do wrong that cost her her dream role? So we're gonna get into it, but here's a couple of things. She didn't know certain people's names. She ignored looking at everybody in the interview. She also brought up a past interview and talked about how she didn't want that particular offer. And then she also sent a thank you email, but instead of sending individual thank you email, she CC'd everybody and just sent one email. Also, she looked pretty shy and had a flat affect, so that kind of made her look uninterested. So she didn't understand interview etiquette, and that is so important. In this video, I'm going to share with you the 8 etiquette tips that you need to know for your next interview. So if you're ready, let's get into it. Number 1, know who you are interviewing with before you go to your interview. I don't know how many nurses I speak to, but I talk to hundreds of nurses every single month. And I will tell you, when I ask them, hey, have you had interviews? Who did you interview with? Or do you have an upcoming interview and who are you interviewing with? They always have to stop, go back, look at their email, and see who they're actually interviewing with. So make sure that you literally become a detective. You want to know who's going to be there, what their name is, and what they look like. So if you happen to see them, you can easily recognize them. You can Google them, you can look them up on LinkedIn, and then you can ask the recruiter specifically who's gonna be on the panel. Sometimes they mention it in the email, sometimes they don't. So you can just reach out easily to the recruiter and say, hey, I'm just curious who's going to be at this interview and what is their role. So like I said, you can look up them on LinkedIn, read a little bit about their background, their role, and just look them up on social media and see what you can find, because you would be very surprised what you find. You might see maybe on their IG, if they have Instagram or Facebook or whatever, maybe even on LinkedIn, they're posting something that they're doing outside of work, and maybe you have the same interest. It actually happened to one of my recent clients who went to a Stanford interview, and she started talking about, I think it was music, and she connected on an artist that the interviewer liked, and I believe it was Bruno Mars that they were talking about. So this is what I'm talking about. That created an instant connection. They started laughing, joking, and they connected super easily. That is a big thing in your next interview. You want to be able to know who you're interviewing with so that you can easily bring something up that can create that connection. Also, research the health system. I myself have been in interviews where I wanted to duck for the person who was interviewing. I've been on multiple panel interviews where we were asking questions, and one time, I believe it was the dean that had asked a question and the person knew nothing about the facility. Happened again in the hospital system. They knew nothing about the hospital system and could not say much. You don't want to be caught in that situation. So simple things to look up: mission, vision, values of the hospital, and to take it a step up, look up the professional practice model. If they're a magnet hospital or a bigger hospital system, they definitely have a professional practice model. This is how nursing really performs. So look it up, and it's typically a diagram and they have an explanation. Also, look up their annual report. This will tell you a lot about the hospital system of their past years. They'll put different things in there that are important to them, different events that have happened. You would just get to know the hospital a little better. And then even more of a top-notch thing to do is look at their strategic plan. If you happen to be watching this, and let's say later you want to go into leadership or in education, these are the things that you have to look up. A strategic plan, typically it's a 3 to 5 year plan that the hospital system has or the organization, and they clearly will lay out their pillars and their strategy for the next couple years and what exactly is important to them. Sometimes they'll leave clues in there like, hey, our current metrics or data are this, and we want to get to this. For example, I'm a former emergency nurse. One of the metrics that we used to look at a lot are patients that were in the waiting room and left without being seen. And they would capture that data. So they wanted to reduce that metric under a certain amount because they didn't want people just leaving the waiting room. It was just not good. It's not a safe thing to have. So those are the clues that you will pick up on. And this matters because you look like you've done your homework and that you are very committed and dedicated to this role because you want to make more of an impact and not just direct patient care, but you're looking at the whole healthcare system and you understand how things work, like even, financials and different things like that. And it'll help you tailor your answers a little better in the interview. Number 2, know when to show up to your interviews. A couple rules. There is an in-person, an online, and let's say a job fair. So for in-person interviews, let's say you've never been there, you literally physically have to be there. I would say at least an hour before. Better yet, if it's a different city, you've never been there, I would go the day before. For you to arrive to the actual location where you're gonna have your interview, only show up 10 minutes before. You can show up to the actual hospital 30 minutes before, but do not go to the actual interview spot until it's 10 minutes before. Why? Because you don't want to make it awkward and they're gonna feel inconvenienced if you show up way too early because they may be in another meeting or with other candidates interviewing or doing something else and they're gonna feel like they have to rush just to accommodate you. Virtual, typically 5 minutes before, and make sure everything is working, all your equipment, your lighting is good. You gotta look like you're literally on a podcast. Your lighting has to be great, your audio in a quiet space, and you gotta look good. And if you're going to be late, you shouldn't be late. But I would say you can call them, be honest about the situation, and actually say, hey, this happened, what do you want to do? Do you want to reschedule or do you want to push back the interview time? Or you can say, hey, if you have a few minutes, are you open to doing a FaceTime call? This is if you're not actually driving, if somebody else is driving you or something like that. Don't text, don't email, just call if you have the actual number. And that's why it's important to leave super early so you don't run into traffic and just know where you're going so you're not rushing. And actually, this happened to me years ago. My husband actually was driving me to an interview and we actually got stopped by a cop and actually we got a ticket. So that delayed the whole process and I actually was 10 minutes late. But I called them and I was like, I'm on my way. We got stopped. Things happen. But this is why you definitely have to show up early. All right. So this is why every single week I actually run a free webinar for new nurses just like yourself. Or if you're a senior nursing student, you're also welcome to come. I talk about job search, interview, and actual gems and tips that I don't share here on YouTube. So you don't want to miss it. And nurses that just simply come to the webinar actually get results. I've had a ton of nurses who have gotten hired from just coming to the webinar. So super valuable information. So you don't want to miss it. It takes literally 1 minute to sign up and it's free. It's free 99. You don't want to miss it. And of course you get to hang out with me and other fabulous people. And when it gets filled up, it gets filled up. So do not wait. Don't sleep on it. Sign up right now. The link is in the description box below, because once it's full, and you gotta wait until the next one. So go sign up. Number 3, always bring your most up-to-date resume. Again, recently I had a client who was going to a Stanford interview, and she's like, well, I already submitted this other resume. I'm like, cool, but you updated this and this, and you updated the certification, so you need to bring your most up-to-date resume. Don't bring the resume that you applied to 4 months ago or 3 months ago. You wanna make sure that it is the most accurate and up-to-date with your certifications, your experience, all of it. You can also email the most current version and say, hey, just wanted to send you this to the recruiter or to the hiring manager or whatever, whoever sent you the email, and say, I just wanted to give you the most up-to-date version of my resume. Here it is. But make sure you also print it out and have multiple copies when you go in person, so that in case they get busy and they forget to print it out, you are prepared, ready to go, and you can hand it out to everybody. And why this matters is because, again, you want to have everything up to date. It looks professional. You look prepared. You pay attention to detail. Number 4, get your greetings right. In a smaller interview, you might want to shake everybody's hand. Let's say there's only 2 or 3 people. Then yes, go ahead and shake everyone's hand. Make eye contact with each person, smile, use their name. This is why you should know their name and put the name to a face so that it's very personable, right? In a larger panel style interview where it's multiple people, you may not have the chance to walk around the big table and like shake everybody's hand because it might be too awkward. So you can literally say, make a joke and say, oh, I'd love to shake everybody's hand, but it's such a big room, we probably don't have that time, so let me just shake one person's hand or whatever. Maybe it's the manager or whatever, whoever's closest to you or something like that. Make sure during your interview that you're also speaking to everybody if it's a panel interview, especially if the person is asking you the question. Direct the answer directly back to that person, but as you're answering it, also kind of look around the room, smile, and have some eye contact with everyone in the room so that everyone has a fair chance of like catching your eye contact, and then you make those interactions and those connections. Next, we have pre-post interview communication. You want to actually thank the recruiter before and after the interview. I would say this is something that most people forget to do, and most new nurses may not even think about this. So I say, when you actually have the recruiter send you the information of all the things, simply send an email to obviously confirm, but also express your gratitude and say, thank you so much for coordinating this interview, giving me this opportunity. I'm super grateful. And put that in an email. They don't really get thanked a lot. So you want to have a warm message that's genuine, showing and expressing that gratitude. Same thing after the interview. Reach out to the recruiter because they often get missed. And then after the interview, you want to send an individual thank you email to every person who was at that interview. And I know you're probably like, Dr. Farah, like seriously, what if there's like 10 people? Then send 10 emails. But you have to have everybody's card. So before you leave the interview, this is what I would say, make sure you get everyone's actual card and get their email. If you don't have everybody's email, simply reach out to the recruiter and say, hey, I missed, getting the chance of getting everyone's email. Can you kindly send me their emails so that I can send a personal thank you note to everybody by email? And then send it within 24 hours. Like, don't mess around. Like, get to the point, send it right away after your interview, and then thank them again for the opportunity to meet with you. And of course, my favorite part, what I love talking about, you have to dress the part. You gotta dress to impress. That is part of the etiquette. Don't show up looking raggedy, looking like you didn't care about your outfit, like you just threw something on and went. No, be intentional. You literally want to turn heads. The way you look and the time that you put into yourself is a direct translation in their head, like, oh wow, they took the time to show up, they look sharp, they look so good, they stand out. You know, actually, one of my clients, I always tell my clients to wear cobalt blue. And she's like, oh, I don't know about that color. She wore it at a virtual interview. And herself, she said, wow, like I popped. Like she's like, out of all the candidates, I think there's like 5 candidates. She's like, I was the only one that really popped on that screen. My lighting was good. Like I looked great. I was like, there you go. My point exactly. So bold colors, and then make sure that it's like a good fit. It looks good on your skin tone. So like cobalt blue, emerald green, maybe some pastels, a bold yellow, but like some yellows don't look good on everybody. So make sure you know like which ones look good on you. Avoid black, because everybody wears black. Avoid navy and avoid gray, because those are all bland, boring colors that like everybody wears. I love those colors personally, but everybody's gonna wear them. And we don't do it. We don't look like everybody, and we don't sound like everybody. That is what is going to make you stand out. Next, situational awareness. You gotta be able to read the room, have some emotional intelligence, and situational awareness. What am I talking about? Some people have no clue like what is going on. You have to have some social cues and like know what's up. You know, you gotta know what's going on. So you can feel when the energy shifts, when things get awkward. So just really pay attention to the energy, because remember, you're also interviewing them, and get a vibe of what's going on. Know when to wrap up your answers. Like if you find yourself rambling too much, cut it. Short, concise, get to the point. I love a good story, but you gotta get to the point. They don't have time. A lot of times they have back-to-back interviews and they don't have time for all of that. You gotta get to the point. So if somebody looks confused or like they're not sure what you're talking about, you know, just make sure that you express yourself in a way that they can clearly understand what you're saying. And then just adapt to the situation of what's going on. If something happens, like you might want to crack a joke, like just be human, like have a personality. Remember, this is not an interrogation. This is simply a conversation. And you got to be prepared. That's it. But, you know, things happen, you adapt, just like in nursing or healthcare. They want to see the human side of you. How do you connect? How are you able to adapt and, you know, like resolve conflict, things like that? These are all behavioral style things, but they're also paying attention of how you handle things and how you handle stress and how you even handle the whole interview. Human relationships, right? It's how are you going to connect with families? How are you going to connect with your healthcare team? How are you going to connect with patients? It's having that adaptability and that human connection. And that's really all they want to see. And nursing school doesn't teach you a lot of the things that I'm teaching you. I mean, a lot of nurses might think like, oh, it's all about what's on your resume. And like having a really high GPA is enough for me to get hired. But it's not. Watch the next video to find out why your GPA won't necessarily get you hired and what to do instead. If you're not subscribed to my channel, hit the subscribe button right now. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Bye.